So we've got the lovely Fiona Louis. Okay, alright, so let's get started. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I will talk now about the fat tissue. It's kind of biology now. Let's move to another topic. So I belong to Osaka University. I'm doing a postdoc there, and I work in a lab which is a joint research laboratory between Osaka University and one Japanese company, Topan company. So let's start. And we are talking now about tissue engineering. So, what is tissue engineering? Maybe you already know, and sometimes when you look on Google about tissue engineering, we can see this kind of image. So, tissue engineering is the fact of recreating organ in the lab, so like this. Here you can see one organ, one here, in a petri dish. So, the thing we use in the lab, and this is in a pink liquid, which is liquid which provides all the nutrients and the food for the cells to grow inside the tissue. So why we do tissue engineering and how? So a lot of people now is trying to use organ bioprinting, so which means we use a kind of printer in the lab to print the organ. So instead of using normal ink, we can mix cells with cell-friendly substance, which is usually kind of gel. So you mix the cell with the gel and you can print this kind of tissue. And the key problem now for organ is that there is a big shortage of organ for transplantation in the world. Usually, when you need transplantation, you need to wait for people to die, and then you take the organ and you put in another patient. And sometimes the patients, they have to wait several months or years before having the organ. So if we can make a new organ directly in the lab, it can be very nice. So this is tissue engineering. And you probably also heard about this. This is mini art. So some scientists from Israel, they did. Oh, I cannot. It's very fast. So it was 1 month ago, a little more than 1 month ago. It was in April, middle April. So some scientists from Israel, they made in the lab a real art. Kind of real earth is very small, you can see it in the hand, and they use human cells from patients directly to print this organ, and it was the first real earth in the world. Why we said real? Because they can make also some blood vessel. In green you can see a tiny blood vessel in the earth, which is very difficult to make normally. So here there are some tiny blood vessel, and also they can make the ventricle in the art with different colors. So it's look functional, there is some blood vessel, and it's very new and it's very cool. We can make real art, but it's still very small. And if we compare to real art, the blood vessel should be like this. So much more blood vessel, a lot of big one and small one, not only two. So tissue engineering is improving every year more and more, but it's still difficult to make a real organ and then to transplant in human. So I just show you art, and you can think, yes, art is very important organ in our body, but what about fat? Why we need to recreate fat? We don't need. Because fat tissue usually are the bad cells of your body. It's a tissue you don't want to keep, you want to remove it. Some people, they want to cut it. No, we don't want fat. But I have something to say to you, that this fat tissues, it's made of adipocytes, so fat cells, and they can live for 10 years. They are very long time duration. If you compare to other type of cells, so the constituents of your body, like the sperm cells or immune cells, they can live only several days. So 10 years for these cells, wow, you can keep it 10 years, so hopeful. And yes, big spoiler, fat tissue is not bad cells. You really need it to live. Yes, now since a lot of years, there are a lot more and more fat people. Usually, in healthy people, you have between 20 to 25% of fat in your body, which is already huge. But if you get more and more fat, you can reach up to 50%. And in this case, there's some trouble. You can have a lot of different diseases like diabetes, etc., and morbidity will increase also. And these cells, what is the function of the cells of the fat tissue? So these cells, they can store fat inside, and they can also release the fat. What is fat for our body? Fat is our energy. We really need fat. You need fat, you need energy to move every day, you need energy to think, even to sleep. And these cells, they will provide energy to your body, for all your body. If you do some sports, they will provide much more. And if you are sleeping, you need little less. So these cells are very useful for storage of energy and to release when you need. And they also will insulate your body against heat and cold, which is nice too, and they will protect all your organs. And another function of these cells is that they can create a lot of protein, a lot of hormone necessary for your body metabolism. So here there is the leptin. So this protein is very important because it will say to your brain, oh, okay, I ate enough, I don't need to eat anymore, please stop eating. But there are also a lot of different organs, not only for nutrition, not only nutritional intake, but a lot of different organs of your body are controlled by the fat tissue. So you need fat tissue, please. So where are the fat tissue? So I told you that they can control all your body metabolism. So actually you can find fat everywhere in your body, mainly below your skin, but also around all your organs. And I have a question for you. I want to ask which organ in your body is the fattest organ? What do you think? Which one?
Heart.
Heart?
Brain.
Heart, brain? Here, no. Don't think so? Okay, but I have already a good answer. This is a brain. Your brain is 60% of fat. Because your brain needs a lot of energy, but not only, your brain needs fat to protect the neurons. So this is one neuron, and this is elongation which transmits a signal, electric signal to all over the brain. And this electric signal needs to be protected from the other signal. So for that, you need to have fat here. The myelin is a real name of this fat. So you have a lot of fat in your brain, 60%. This is huge. So it was the first fun fact about fat. The second fun fact about fat, it's difficult to say, but fun fact, is there is a multiple of different fat cells because in your body you have different type of fat. And we have different color for this adipocyte. So here you have the white, the beige, and the brown type. The white one is a very mature adipocyte. We call it mature because they are very full of fat, so it's a big storage of energy. And you have also the brown adipocyte, which are a multiple of small lipid vesicles, which is easier to take the fat from and to create energy. And in between there is a beige, which is not totally brown, not totally white. And a lot of scientists, they are now trying to transform all the white cells in brown. So why brown are important? These cells can produce the heat. When you are cold, this brown adipocyte will produce the heat in your body to make you better. So if we transform all the white cells in brown, so we will be very hot, and maybe we will have less fat. But for now, they found a lot of different proteins, but none of these proteins are successful to transform all your white adipocyte in brown. But this is, a lot of scientists are working on it right now. And the second color is yellow. So yellow adipocytes are the adipocytes that you can find, the fat tissue that you can find inside your bone. Inside your bone, there is a lot of different cells which can become bone cells or fat cells. And when you're getting old, there is more fat cells than bone cells. So your bones are becoming more porous and more fragile, which is called osteoporosis. So these adipocytes are also specific, and we call it yellow adipocytes. So until now, the color was kind of related to the real color. in your body, so from white, beige, brown, and yellow. And the last type is pink. So this color is not the real color of this type of adipocyte, adipose tissue. It's kind of, I don't know, sexist color. Because these adipocytes are functional only in female. They act during the lactation process. These adipocytes, they can organize themselves here, around the mammary gland, and they will secrete the milk protein. So they are very useful also, and I really love these adipocytes. They are very special. And there are very, very few information on them now. But if we want to recreate a breast, we need to learn more about this specific type of pink adipocyte, so female adipocyte. Okay, last fun fact about fat is that in the fat tissue, so all the very round yellow cells that you can see here are the mature adipocytes, so the cell full of fat. But there are a lot of different cells in adipose tissue. There are some blood vessels and some capillary. And a lot of tiny little cells which are called stem cells. Maybe you know already about stem cells. Stem cells are like baby cells. They didn't decide yet what they want to be, what they want to choose for their career, if they want to be bone cells, muscle cells, fat cells, cartilage. So when we want to recreate an organ in a lab, it's very useful to use stem cells because you can decide for them, okay, now we want muscle, so please do muscle. These stem cells, they can also proliferate a lot, they can replicate, they can become a lot very fast. If you compare to the mature adipocytes, which are full of fat, they cannot proliferate, they cannot divide their fat into cells, it's too difficult. So these cells are also useful for that. And also they have some immune regulation process, they can avoid cell death, etc. So scientists really love stem cells from fat tissue because it's easy to take. You can take the fat tissue and then separate the cells and keep only the stem cells. So more in detail, why we want to regenerate this adipose tissue in the lab. So I already told you about a lot of functionality of adipose tissue. And the first application of recreating this in the lab is to have a drug screening model. So when you create a new medicine, you have first to find the molecules and to do a lot of characterization, and then before trying in human, usually you have to do in vivo experiments, in vivo studies, which is an animal, and before that we do in vitro studies. Because now, a lot of regulation in the world, in Europe, in America, and also in Japan, they want to reduce animal experimentations. They want to use less animal to do the drug experimentation for new medicine, because we found that there's a lot of difference between animal and us. Sometimes you find a very good molecule in animal and it doesn't work in human. So if we can recreate tiny human tissue in the lab and then try a lot of molecules, we can find a more suitable medicine first. And then you try in animal to check the toxicity, and then you can try in human. So if you look on the right here, there are a lot of different drugs with different colors, so it can be different medicines. And all these different medicines can be tried of different small adipose tissue. So this is the first application of recreated adipose tissue in the lab. Sorry. And the second application is for implantation. So I told you just before, if we want to recreate the breast tissue, yes, we want to do that using adipose tissue, especially for breast cancer, which is the second cancer in the world. So usually the woman who has breast cancer, not only the woman actually, they have to remove their breast and then they have to use some artificial implants. But recently there are a lot of trouble with artificial implants. So now a lot of women, they want to have more natural implants. They want to use their own fat and put in the breast, which is a nice idea and which is supposed to work because there are a lot of fat in your breast. So we want to regenerate adipose tissue as a breast implant, but not only, also for plastic surgery. If you want to look younger, you can inject some fat also in your face. But the problem is that when you take the adipose tissue from your belly or from your leg or everywhere, you break all the blood vessels inside, and when you inject again, there is a lot of trouble. Some 20 to 70% of the volume is lost because the cells die inside. There is not enough supply of nutrients. This is the role of blood vessel. So if we want to make a suitable breast implant, we have to add the blood vessel inside to avoid the necrosis of the tissue, the cell die. And now I will talk to you about my work in the lab. So to recreate the adipose tissue, I will simplify the adipose tissue as mature adipocytes, so the cell full of fat, the adipose stem cell, which are the baby cells, and the blood vessel cells. And we want to look like this image, which is a real human adipose tissue. So in pink you have all the blood vessel, and in green there is the fat cells. And for the structure, to keep the structure of this tissue, adipocyte is mainly composed of collagen. Maybe you know already collagen. You can do also some injection of collagen in your face if you want to look younger, because it's one of the most components of your body also to make the structure. So we mix this type of cells with collagen fibers. And the first model is using only mature adipocyte and collagen, and you mix together and you check after 1 or 2 weeks. The tissue inside has this kind of organization, so you can see the fibrous network of collagen fibers here. And here you can see the adipocyte in white and the collagen fibers in pink. Adipocyte and collagen fibers. So this is inside the tissue. You can cut the tissue and look inside using different coloration to identify the collagen here and the cells. And this is another coloration staining which use green for the living cells and red for the dead cells. So here you can see, using this collagen fiber, we can keep up to 2 weeks the adipocyte alive, the fat cells alive in the tissue, which is very good. This is the first step. And then if we add also the adipose stem cells and the collagen in the tissue, we want to recreate the image on the left, which is a real human adipose tissue with blood vessel and fat cells. And here it's, after recreation, you can see a lot of tiny blood vessels in red. And if we look closer here, you can see that there is a lot of adipocyte inside in green, and the blood vessels are found around each cell with different diameter, and it's very, very similar to in vivo. In vivo is in the body, in real humans, so we can recreate very similar tissue in the lab, which is very nice. So now, for the next plant, I have to check if this tissue is very suitable for implantation, so now I will have to use animal, which I don't really like actually, but I have to do that. I have to implant this tissue I just showed you before, and to check if this tissue can be maintained, if there is no dead cells inside. So I will do it from July normally. And I told you before about bioprinting, so can I do bioprinting of these fat cells? Actually, I am working on it, and this is for another application, which is in the lab meat. Maybe you already heard about this. So some people, some different companies in the world are trying to make meat in the lab. So here is one example of Aleph Farm, which is an Israeli company. So from little cells from the coat, from the beef at the beginning, you can expand, you can proliferate the cells, and then you can recreate the muscles, the blood vessel, and the fat of the meat, if you add also some structure to make this type of meat here, because the white things are the fat. So we need fat because in the meat there are fat, and it's, for the taste it's better. you know that fat is good, fat is life. And on the guy that you can see here, it was the first guy in the world to make in vitro meat, so in the lab meat. It was in Maastricht, and this is one picture of 2013. So they did a demonstration. It was a hamburger, and so no fat inside. And they did cooking, and then they eat all together. And apparently it was good, but the price was very expensive. It was 250,000 euros at the time for one hamburger. So now it's been 6 years after, so the price is decreasing, but it's still a little expensive. If we can find a good way to recreate meat in the lab, and if we do lots, we can sell it. And there is some ecologic purpose because you need more or less animal for making the meat, so it can be better for our planet. So my talk is finished. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
And I will be happy, yes, to answer. Yes?
The pictures you showed of recreating in the lab, are those human cells or mouse fat cells?
Human cells, yes.
And is there a dramatic difference between fat cells between organisms? Like human?
Between species, yeah, yes. At first I was using mouse adipocytes and fat cells. Actually, mouse and human are quite similar. They can react faster than human to insulin or this kind of induction, but they're quite similar. But if you compare to beef, they are totally different. The fat inside the adipose cells are different, so you cannot compare to beef. But for mouse, yes, you can. At the beginning, it's more closer. But the most closer will be the pig. If you want to compare.
Questions?
For the regeneration of the breast, does it have to be personalized? So does it have to be for every person? Do you have to generate fat tissue, or is it something that you can isolate once and then use for different people?
Yes, I didn't talk about this, but if you use cells from other people, usually there is immune reaction if you inject in another people, because the cells in your body, they can recognize, oh, this is not our family, we don't want them. yeah, kind of racist. But in the fat, there are a lot of stem cells, so apparently the immune answer can be lower. But we prefer to take our own fats and then to recreate a new breast and then implant. It's always better to avoid this. Yes. Next question.
Yeah. Anyone else? So with the breast reconstruction, is that how far in the future will we be able to actually use that, do you think?
How long we can keep the breast at implantation?
Can we? It's not being used yet, right? People who lost their breast to breast cancer, they can't.
Yes. Now,
it's
wow. It's working now, but it depends to the people. The success is very different. So I told you from 20 to 70% of the volume is lost now. I work with one professor from Kyoto Prefectural University, and he's trying to keep the blood vessel inside the fat. So you cannot use liposuction, which is easy to take the fat. You have to open it to take the fat, and then he's trying to connect the blood vessel from this fat to your breast blood vessel, and it's very difficult. It takes all day operation to do that, and it's better. So they do that, but they want to find an easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any last questions? Is there a question? No? Okay. If not, then I think we are finished. So thank you very much.